It appears the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to keep their offensive coordinator in 2025. Arthur Smith, while offered the North, or at least called about the North Carolina job, interviewed for the New York Jets and the Chicago Bears. Well, the Detroit Lions said, no way, pal, not happening. We are sending our coordinators to both of those teams, and you will not get an opportunity to be head coach again in 2025. Aaron Glenn is expected to sign with the New York Jets. I wouldn't even be surprised by the time you are listening to this pre or post live that he has inked a deal and the Jets' new head coach. And Ben Johnson is on his way to Chicago, which happened about 2 hours after I sat on this podcast yesterday and said nobody wants to go to Chicago. I was off. It was all right. Doesn't look like Arthur Smith is going anywhere this season. He will remain in Pittsburgh. I do not expect him to be one of the coaching changes of any coaching changes that the Pittsburgh Steelers have yet to announce. So it looks like he will be the play caller for another season. We'll dive into the quarterback here in a minute and what that means and how that changes things. But I think it's a big, giant, looming question. I mean, I got a text from my father-in-law, I don't know, a week ago now, saying Arthur Smith is getting all of these head coaching interviews, and is it just me, or was he not impressive enough in my eyes to get head coaching interviews, to be a candidate? Like, why is that surprising to me? And also, should the Steelers, should the fans be happy that he might leave to be a head coach? And I think that answer is complicated because, yeah, maybe there is some flashy, young, inexperienced coming up offensive coordinator option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I would imagine there's a couple. I mean, the New England Patriots are about to hire Josh McDaniels, which means that guys like Josh McCown are still open. Guys like, I mean, if you want to go get Gerard Johnson, still open. Clint Kubiak doesn't want to go back to the New Orleans Saints, apparently, or at least that's what people are talking about. Cool. Go interview him. Instead, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to stick with Arthur Smith. And you're thinking, yeah, all right, Arthur Smith is a well-respected offensive coordinator in the NFL. He's a guy that a lot of teams would want. A guy that would probably have a job within no time in the NFL if he did decide to leave Pittsburgh, or if the Steelers decided to move on from him. I think a lot of people say the same things about Mike Tomlin, and maybe it's a little bit of PTSD to go, yeah, all right, we already have, the Steelers have the head coach that would have a job in 10 minutes if he left, and half the fan base doesn't want him here. Maybe it's feeling the same way about Arthur Smith. So I'll ask you, as I just laid it out there, I got a lot of thoughts, but I'm excited to hear yours. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers and should their fans, I think that's the big one here, should anybody be happy that Arthur Smith is coming back to the Steelers?
There's certainly reason to be, I wouldn't say ecstatic, because we all watched that offense in 2024. It wasn't great. It wasn't fun. It wasn't exciting, but it was effective at some points. And I think what you can say is, while I know that nobody wants to hear consistency is a good thing, especially on a team that has suffered through the same thing over and over again with Mike Tomlin, and that's been the main reasoning is, hey, consistency is a good thing. But when it comes to an offensive coordinator and only having 1 year on the job with that organization, that type of consistency is good for certain things, right? It's good for your offensive line. It's good for your quarterback, whoever that may be, if they're coming back for a second year. It's good for your wide receivers. It's good for your running backs. It's good for these players that are young and trying to mold into what they want to become at the NFL level. Because if you have to have a new offensive coordinator and you have to learn an entirely new offense in year 2 in the NFL, that's for guys like Roman Wilson. That's for guys like Troy Fautanu. That's for a guy like Broderick Jones, who would have to be learning his third offense in 3 years. Consistency is a good thing. And I do think that there is room for improvement for Arthur Smith. Part of that is personnel. Maybe if they cut Cordero Patterson, you can't go to Cordero Patterson on certain plays. So maybe that fixes itself. But I do think that there are reasons to be excited that Arthur Smith is coming back. Not to mention, you mentioned the alternative is, hey, there's a lot of young, hot shot, exciting Steelers aren't hiring them. They're going to hire the up-and-coming Arthur Smith offensive coordinator. They're not hiring Clint Kubiak. They're not hiring anybody off the Sean McVay tree. That's not going to be the case. They interviewed Zach Robinson, but they didn't have a chance at Zach Robinson last offseason. So do I think that there's reason to be excited? Yes. Am I jumping for joy that he's coming back? No, because he still has to prove it.
All right, football fans, things are getting real. Whether your team has made it to the conference championship or not, there's still plenty of ways to enjoy the games. Get in on the action right now with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbooks. They're offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly by just betting $5. Don't let this slip away. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using our code ALLSteelers. The crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live in-game progress right as they are happening, making watching the games that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSteelers and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Yeah, I agree. I look at Arthur Smith as a guy that liked Justin Fields, which we'll dive into the elephant in the room here in a minute, which is the quarterback and Justin Fields. He liked Justin Fields. Justin Fields really liked Arthur Smith. The players love him. And I think that there were reasons to give him excuses. Okay, Russell Wilson was at the end of his career. Mike Tomlin made sure that everything was dialed back and nothing was able to happen when Justin Fields was on the field. It was, hey, do not lose this football game. We got to win these. Okay, great. We're going to play real conservative offense. I think that there's a lot of room for growth there. By the time Russ came in, you completely switched your offense. Arthur Smith went a whole offseason training with Justin Fields to get 6 weeks with them before he had to work with the starting quarterback that he didn't have an offense designed for, because he designed the offense over the summer, and then Russ gets hurt the first day of training camp, and Justin's got to be the guy, and you're working with Justin. And yeah, Mike Tomlin might be having conversations like Russ is still the guy when you're out there, but you can't put an offense into place working with the backup quarterback while Russ sits in the sidelines. To get a full summer with the guy, maybe that's Justin Fields. It sounds like it's going to be. Then that has to increase your potential in 2025. It has to open the door for better outcomes in 2025. On top of that, I agree with you. The roster turnover is going to be the biggest one here. Cordero Patterson. I would expect that the snow shoveling tweet was the last thing he says about the Pittsburgh Steelers until he's cut. That's what I would expect to happen. You're moving Broderick to the left side and you're hoping that it works out. You're getting Troy Fautanu back and you're hoping that it works out. If those two, Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick can all take steps forward, you have an offensive line. Hopefully you have your quarterback. And then I'm sorry, but I think it would, I just don't think in my wildest dreams do I see Van Jefferson and Ben Skoranek being wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 in 2025. I fully anticipate real wide receiver options to go with Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson and possibly George Pickens. But there is reason to say maybe Arthur Smith deserves one more season, and there's expectations that should be higher in that second season to give him a real opportunity to work with these guys and develop and to build that camaraderie and chemistry with not just him and the players, but the players and the system. And that I think is big. That I think could be very big. Now, is he the best option out there? No, but like you said, maybe the Steelers wouldn't go out and get a splashy guy. Maybe they'd end up with Gerard Johnson or Tom Arth as their offensive coordinator. And yeah, okay, Great. Up and coming, exciting. I don't know if I'd pick them over Arthur Smith and say, I feel better about this move. So the Steelers might be in their best spot. If there's going to be one storyline that I attach myself to that's like, hey, this is going to be good. This is going to work out better than we expected to. This is something to have hope to. It might be Arthur Smith in year 2. It might be year 2. Arthur Smith might be okay. I truly believe it. I mean, you got to think that at some point this summer, he's going to be watching film and saying, you want to know what I don't think worked last year? I don't think the pitch worked. I think we could remove the pitch. It might be better. I think at some point you're going to stare yourself in the mirror and say that. I got faith in Arthur Smith. I think it's a good thing that he's coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see what happens.